Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Tipping Point podcast. Today, I have a very special guest. We have Anxious with us. He's signed to Next Chapter, Nick Cooper. He's supported by Hardwell, W&W, Nicky Romero, Spinning Records, and more. And he's also the founder of Kush Disciple Company with over 10 years of experience in the cannabis industry. We're going to learn a lot from him today. So, how are you?
I'm good. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. So, we have a lot to get into today. But I'm just gonna start from the beginning. You actually studied music in college, is that correct?
Yeah, so I did a few programs in Berklee College of Music, and it was pretty good programs. I learned a lot, and definitely helped me with my career.
Yeah, you were actually at UC Berkeley, yes?
Yeah, it's Berklee College of Music, which is in Boston as well.
Oh, okay, yeah. I see. And do you feel like that having that experience helped your creativity?
Yes, it definitely helped because you learn a lot of things about the industry. Me, I'm a very driven individual, so I kind of say I'm obsessed with my craft. So I went in knowing a lot of things already. So I did learn a lot. And I believe that school always has great factors to teaching people things that they need, which is basics and stuff, and how to do certain things. But since I came in already knowing some of these things, I was you can say more proficient at it. So it definitely helped me succeed there.
Yeah. So a lot of times with passion, for some people, their passion is written on their heart the day they're born, and they just kind of know it instinctually. Other people, they just keep trying different things, and then they figure out what their passion is. How do you think that was for you?
Well, when it comes to passion, for me, it was I knew what I wanted. So I always been a lover of electronic music. That's what I make. So I knew that I wanted to pursue this career. And I had so much passion with it that I actually started benefiting from it. So I feel like if you have the right amount of passion and obsession in something, you'll definitely chase it with your all. And so there's not so much room for failure, but of course you're always learning.
Yeah. Yeah. So, tell me, to be supported by Hardwell, W&W, Nicky Romero, this is very hard to do. How did that come to be? For anyone watching this that's into the music genre and wants to get big in electronic music, how did that come to be?
Yeah, so I actually started producing music professionally 5 years ago. And as a young artist, I tried my best to expand my knowledge by learning from people in my community. So what I do is I go around and I ask people for feedback. I get mentored from people who are already in that circle, so it's always the community that helped me out, so I try my best to infiltrate, that spot in the community, and learn a lot from it, and the way I got supported by Hardwell and W&W was because I released a song called Savior. I first sent this song to a few record labels and they rejected me, right? But then this other label picked it up and it decided this is a good song. And then after they saw that it was popular, everybody started hopping on the train, so that's where I started getting the support. It was random. I didn't think I was going to get it. It happened, but I'm really happy it did because it opened so much doors for me.
Yeah, so a lot of time writers have writer's block is what they call it, where their creativity is stunted and they're just hitting a wall and they can't, get past that wall. I'm sure there's a similar aspect to that in music. I'm sure there is. When you hit that type of block in your head, how do you push past those boundaries?
Right. So me, myself, I definitely experienced that a lot. Most of the time, what happens to me more than writer's block is I get ear fatigue. I'm trying something so many times that my ears start hurting, so I have to take a break, So what I do is a lot of people get dismotivated, and they get writer's block. I don't know what to do. I should try this. I should try that, and it's not working. What I say you should do is what works for me is I just take a break for a few days, come back fresh, look at videos, hear some music, get inspired again, get that inspiration of getting some ideas. Or you can always reach out to someone you look up to that's possibly mentoring you, and ask for feedback how they can get out of this state of mind, or get out of a writer's block per se, and that has been definitely helping me a lot, because I still experience that myself sometimes, so I go through those steps, I get motivated again, and it's been happening to me a lot more because I've been focusing a lot on my cannabis brand, so but thank God for that balance, so now I'm starting to get back into it.
Yeah, and we're gonna be talking about the cannabis brand as well, but I'm wondering, so when you feel demotivated in your music, and is there any type of mental health like practices you go through to kind of become motivated again?
For me personally, I'm somewhat always motivated. That's the type of person I am, but I could say it's very similar to what I was just saying. Just try to find the right motivation, whether if it's a video on the internet that inspires you, whether it's a friend that you have to talk to that hypes you up, a hype man, for everybody, I guess it's a special type of personal thing that they have going on, so I would just say, just explore all that. Don't be afraid to ask for help, if you're really passionate about something, you should never give up trying.
So as you know, there's a lot of artists. For example, Drake is someone that's popping up to mind. Is that he has had a lot of evolutions in his music, and he continues to. But there was a certain period of time where he found his voice, and then his success really took off after that. When do you think you found your voice, and how do you know that you found your voice?
Right. So for me, it's always constant learning. So I'm still learning even now. So when I made that song Savior, I wanted to make sure that I didn't make anything that was worse than that. So it always had to be better. So yeah, I just had to make sure that the next song was gonna beat the old songs. So it's a point of constant advancement. And you can say I found my sound because it's hard to stand out from everyone else nowadays, so you have to find your sound to be a bit unique. I found that sound and I stuck with it, so that's what's kind of been driving me along the music scene, and people recognize me for that specific sound, so it's definitely something that you got to do. You got to find your sound and just keep working.
Yeah. So how do you find your sound? Is it by constant experimenting? Is it by your fans really appreciating that music more? How do you find your sound, in your opinion?
Yeah, it's by seeing what works best for you, but it's also working best for everybody else. Because music is something that evolves constantly, so if you're making music that was a hit a year ago, it might not be a hit now because it's constant evolution.
Yeah.
So you got to make sure you continue, to make what's everybody's listening to nowadays, but you want to keep your original feel and touch in there, so you definitely got to experiment. You got to see what works, what doesn't, get feedback from artists, and once you find your sound, it'll make you different than everybody else.
Yeah, that actually reminds me of something, because music a lot of times is tied with a spiritual feeling, like spirituality. And I don't know if you watch Lewis Howes' School of Greatness, his podcast. He had Rick Rubin on, and Rick Rubin was saying that the music it's a spiritual feeling. It's like a gift to God. That's how he describes it. Rick Rubin, such a fascinating guy. But how would you is there a spiritual component to your music, or do you kind of not feel that way?
No, for me, music is everything. Music is a way of life. Music is my passion, so it's what keeps me calm. That's the reason I call myself anxious, because I'm constantly in this anxious state. So when I'm working on music, I tend to find myself in a state of peace. So sometimes even before, when I would be upset at something, whether it's a life problem or an argument or something, I'll just go to the computer and start making music. That was always my way of feeling better, so relief. So I definitely have a close relationship with music, and you can say it's very godlike, So I do believe in that. Yeah.
Okay, I love it. Awesome. Yeah. So you've had a lot of success in music, but I also know you have a passion for the cannabis industry. And cannabis is a very interesting industry to me because just in business prospects, there is so much competition. It's so hard to make it in that field, especially in Los Angeles. Uh, a lot of people would shy away from that. What made you charge towards it rather than run away?
Yeah, so cannabis was actually a passion for me that I've been having since I was younger. You can say almost as long as music, right? And a reason was because I live with severe anxiety, you know. So a lot of people think, oh, you do cannabis because you get high and then you feel good and you just want to get high. No, it's like for me, it's like it actually calmed those nerves. So I found a state of balance with cannabis, you know. So it's definitely something that helped my life, you know, and I decided to pursue it, you know, very heavily actually.
Yeah, and I know we were talking earlier, off camera, and I think what made you want to pursue, creating the Kush Disciple Company, uh, besides what you just said, is that you had a bad experience with cannabis one time, and you want to make sure that no one else goes through that, and that you're selling quality and safe products to customers. Can you talk a little bit about that experience, if you don't mind?
Yeah, of course. So my company is all based on the cannabis community and culture and overall wellness. Yeah, so the reason I actually started the Kush Disciple brand, because the Kush Disciple is a rebrand of a failed cannabis brand that I had back in the day, you know, and this brand that I had before, it was called Anxious Organics. It was a CBD brand. And the reason I started it is because my mother had severe breast cancer, you know, very severe breast cancer to the point where she was taking medications for her pain, and it was giving her really bad side effects, liver problems, all these types of things. Nobody wants to see their parents suffer, right? So as a son, I try to find ways to figure out solutions. You know, how can I help? You know, so I decided maybe CBD. Maybe my mother will be open to CBD. It's basically tincture oil. Doesn't get you high. You know, it's just for the medicinal effects. You know, so I decided to tell her. She tried it. She was open to it. At that point, she was open to try anything. You know, she tried it. She loved it. And it ended up being that every 3 days or so, she would finish the whole bottle. It was like a $60 bottle, so it was getting kind of hefty in my pockets, right? So I was like, there's a lot of people who can't afford this medicine who need it, such as me, and I can't afford it. So I'm going to cut off the middleman, and I'm going to start a CBD brand myself, you know? So my goal was to help those people who couldn't afford it get the medicine for a fraction of the cost, you know? So I did that. Everything was going great. I had patients who were cancer patients that had epilepsy, older patients, athletes, you know, so it was going good. And the reason I call it a rebirth or failed brand, because the profits were barely there. So it wasn't moving too much because I was truly helping people, right? You know, so, and unfortunately, about a year and a half down the line, I had a heart attack. And yeah, the reason I had a heart attack is because I smoked some black market cannabis. It had contamination and mold and stuff like that, you know? So it really impacted my life. It wasn't good. It just kind of destroyed me, you know? And it got me into the state of mind is where I want to hide, you know? And I was very weak and vulnerable and stuff, you know, because of it. And I couldn't continue to run the CBD brand, unfortunately, so I had to sell it, you know, and take care of myself. You know, so that happened. It was a really bad night, you know. Sometimes I still have trauma because of it, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm happy I'm still here and I move forward, you know. And because of that, I decided to a year down the line after my recovery, I decided, hey, I don't want anybody to ever experience this, ever go through this, because cannabis, in my opinion, is a positive thing that brings a lot of benefits and brings a lot to the table. It can help a lot of people and has, you know, so it should be a positive experience, you know. So I decided to start the Kush Disciple, provide affordable product for everybody, you know. So it's pretty good. It's like, it's my dream now, you know.
No, I love that you were able to take your trauma, which is very serious trauma, to have a heart attack from getting just bad a bad product that is laced with God knows what that gave you a heart attack. It's terrible, but thank God that you changed that, because you probably saved some people's lives without even knowing. Because that night that when they went and bought your product, they could have went and bought black market product that same night or that same day, and they could have died from it. So you probably saved people's lives without even noticing it. So
Yeah, I always tend to think that way, you know, that I'm doing a good thing for the community and
right,
stuff, you know, which is definitely true because we have a lot of people who are telling us we appreciate you for what you're doing. That's how we stand out from different brands, you know, because anybody can just, I have so much money, let me start a company, you know, but for us, it has more deep meaning behind it and the reason we started it, you know, so a lot of people are really picking up on that and they really support us for it.
yeah. Because I was reading on your mission statement of the website, the Kush Disciple website. It was very clear in your mission statement that yeah, profits are fine. You know, every business needs to make money. It's not everyone knows that. And you can't deny that, because you need to run with money. You if you don't have money, you're not going to survive. It's just as simple as that. But you made it very clear that it's people centric first. It's not money centric. So it's people centric. So what I've understood through my analyzation of different business people, when you put people first, your chance of success may be not good in the beginning, but after that you take off. It reminds me of Jeff Bezos, where his philosophy was to be people centric, and he was losing money for 10 years, but now he's, some people say, one of the greatest entrepreneurs of the 21st century, if not the greatest. They debate it, but so yeah, if you are people centric, then people will notice it. So, and yeah, it's very respectable.
Yeah, it's definitely a long-term investment, you can say, you know, and we enjoy doing it, you know. So also on our website, we have this area where we do one-on-one consultations, you know. So let's say someone has a medical problem or something, or they're trying to find the right product for them. We try to help them with our knowledge. You know, they can schedule a phone call or one-on-one appointment, you know, and just help them just get the right products to see what works for them. Because some people are very afraid to try this for the first time, you know. So we want to make sure they're comfortable, it works for them, and they're safe as possible, you know. So it's definitely a great thing that we like to give back to the community. Everything that we regenerate from profits, we put it back into the community. Every 1 or 2 weeks, we do another event, you know, giving away free product. We also do events at the dispensaries that we're in, the pharmacies that we're in and stuff. You know, we also do patient appreciation days at those pharmacies. So we get out even more product, you know, because it's all about the people, you know, it's all about the patients, you know. So it's definitely a giving back community, you know.
Right. Yeah, so go into, because if anyone's watching this and they want to, you know, buy your products, I just want to give some insight. Can you go a little bit into what this consultation consists of? Is it like a phone call, a Zoom call? Do you meet with someone in person? Is it a team of people? How does that work?
Yeah, so we offer 2 ways. We offer a Zoom call or a regular telephone appointment. You
Like a
know,
phone call?
yeah, so
Yeah.
we do it Monday through Friday, you know, regular office hours, 9 to 5. We have available, we'll talk to you. We can just take you even without an appointment sometimes, you know, just give us a call, and if we're free, we can help you. You know, yeah, we basically just ask you a series of questions to see and how it can benefit you, like what you're interested in, like what you're looking for. If you have anxiety, if you have depression, you can't sleep at night, you know, all those things. And then we try to find like what best can work for you. You know, some people are non-smokers, so they can't use flowers. Some people consume edibles. You know, that's the best way of consumption. Some people like the tincture oils, as I was mentioning, with a CBD company. But yeah, everybody's different. So we definitely try to work with them one-on-one, you know, and build that relationship, you know, because one-on-one relationships is in my opinion, the best way to go by and reach people.
Yeah, absolutely. So how do you cater to your customer needs? How do you figure out what it is your customer wants?
As in product-wise?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would ask them those series of questions to see what they're actually looking for. and sometimes by what they already tell me in the beginning of those questions, it's a dead giveaway. So I can already start bringing up this product. I'll start bringing up that product, usually and most of the time it works out from my experience, but yeah, it's always mostly flower, or we do have some older clients, that they don't smoke or anything like that, so they do prefer like topicals or oils, but everybody's different.
No, how do you get investors to invest in your company and your product? How do you pitch the idea? Because a lot of people do struggle with that, with having like a proper pitch deck, explaining their idea to somebody, because you need proof of concept. But a lot of times when people are starting up their companies and they're not giant companies, they're not medium-sized companies, they're small companies or startup companies, they don't necessarily have proof of concept. So how do you properly sell an idea and say that you're going to follow up on your word, on what you're promising?
Right. So I feel like every industry is different.
Yeah.
So you definitely have to analyze it deeply. For me and my experience, the way I find investors for my cannabis brand would be I only take investors who are in the cannabis community and know how the culture works. So they have to have experience in that field. I also like working very close one-on-one with my team and investors just to make sure everybody's on the same page. We like to have someone that's more active rather than being just active on paper. There's a lot of people who just want to invest and see profits. For me, it's like I want to find someone who wants to invest, see profits, help me get those profits, help me get better as a brand to see what they offer. So it's not like I'll pitch you my idea, and if you like it, you'll take it, I'll take your money. It's more like, let me ask you a series of questions to see if you're the right candidate to invest in my brand. So it's like my baby, so I take it very seriously,
Yeah.
I
relate to that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I definitely work a little different when it comes to that area because I truly want what's best, and I see it as a big family, honestly.
You mentioned, you say culture a lot, that you want people to be part of the cannabis culture, that the people that you work with, the investors or partners that you work with. What's so unique and special about the cannabis culture that you relate to? What's their dynamic? What do they believe in? I personally, I don't smoke weed. I don't do it. Not that there's anything wrong with it. I just personally don't smoke weed, so I'm not sure about the culture. But if you could explain that a little bit to me, just for my knowledge.
Yeah, for me, it's basically all about the people. When I say culture, I mean people who believe that cannabis has a purpose in life. So it's greater than just someone smoking. So it would be as in this means that there's general benefits of cannabis and you believe in it. So it would be like medicinal wise, so you believe that it can help people in the long run, not just for having fun, although you can have fun in it.
Yeah.
Right? So that's what I mean with a culture, just a community of people that come together and celebrate these values. Of course, just like any community there's different areas, certain communities, it's beneficials, how it can help medicinal wise. There's different type of product communities. There's different types of people in every community, So for me, it's mostly like the beneficial wise, So it's the medicinal wise, and that's what I tend to focus on.
Okay, I see. And one thing that I've understood about cannabis, because living in Los Angeles, I don't know how you wouldn't be informed on it because it's a very big part of Los Angeles culture, let's say, is that in the past, the THC concentration of cannabis was lower, but over time, because you could kind of grow these things in laboratories, the THC concentration is much higher nowadays. And there's some people that say that that is harmful. Like, how do you feel about that personally?
Yeah, so there's definitely different levels to concentration, in cannabis. Before, the THC concentration was very low.
Yeah.
And now, of course, it's very high because things evolve, as we were talking about. Things are evolving, things are getting better, so they figured out ways to genetically make these these products better.
Yes.
Of course, there was always concentrated cannabis before that were in higher testing, so with people, like, it's all about tolerance, so it depends what your body can take and what it can't, what makes you feel good or what doesn't. For me is I just stick to flower. I don't do any concentrates, as you call wax or oils and stuff like that,
Yeah.
because it's just too much for me, and it'll throw me off my balance. So over time things have gotten a bit intense, and of course I always say play it safe. Then it's better safe than being sorry, because nowadays people just up the concentrations and think someone just wants to see a higher percentage of concentration, and that means it's better. It doesn't. It's all at what works with you and stuff. That's why there's this whole debate between terpenes and THC concentration or percentage. Terpenes is basically
What is it?
Yeah, terpenes are basically like flavors and different chemicals that are inside the flower, and those chemicals create a type of feeling, so it can be very low percentage in THC, but it has these terpenes in there that increase one's high. So everybody is different, one thing that can hit you to go to sleep and can hit the other to wake them up, so you just basically have to find what's the right balance for you, and I would say it's better being safe than being sorry, because nowadays these people are doing everything they can to make their product look great, just by look great, but it can be grown with a lot of pesticides, heavy metals, and things just to make it look super shiny and crystally, and it's just man-made product and stuff, and it can be harmful for you, for your lungs, and it can cause, like all types of, you can even have a heart attack from it, so it's it's better to be safe than sorry. But no matter what, I feel cannabis is always evolving.
I see. And then also we were talking also earlier that you've actually worked with some pretty big names in the industry, can you go a little bit about how, like, for example, you work with Burner? I know he founded Cookies, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I would say I didn't personally work with him like one-on-one and stuff.
Yeah.
But the office that throws events, that I attend those events to, or that I have events at, or sometimes go set up our cannabis brand at that event, activate there. He's definitely been there. He's definitely worked there, so he knows the guys. So it's like the cannabis community is very small, but then big at the same time. So everybody knows each other. We definitely cross paths and stuff. It's like hi and bye. I don't know the guy personally and stuff like that. He's a great dude. I love his music. Shout out.
Yeah, shout out Burner. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a community where everybody is just friendly and everybody comes together. So it's definitely, we've been in the same places. We know the same people.
Do you have an idea of what cannabis is going to evolve into in the next couple of years, and what Kush Disciple Company is going to evolve into in the next, let's say, 5 years from now?
Yeah, so our goal is to continue our values, so we base everything on our values, which is about a community and culture and providing people with safe, effective medicine for affordable price.
Yeah.
So I feel like we're going to grow, and as by grow, it means we're going to add more products to our line. Right now we're strictly flower, but we're going to add some concentrates as well. We're going to add some edibles as well. So in my opinion, that would be growth, and yeah, it's all basically see how the people react, see what works for people, see what works for us and stuff. It's constant learning, so the learning is always there. I have a lot of mentors myself that teach me and help me get through if I have an obstacle or whatnot, so yeah, no matter what, I'm always learning, so I try my best to just pass those bumps on the road and just keep moving forward.
Right. And then how do you, I think you're currently only in Los Angeles, correct?
Yeah, so we're in the greater Los Angeles area. So I want to say between, let's say, the heart of downtown, we can spread out within 40 miles.
Wow, it's very impressive. Do you plan on expanding, like going national or multinational, or do you have any plans for that?
Well, our big goal is to just be countrywide. So we're trying our best to be countrywide and stuff. We want to make sure we spread our influence in all these different areas. We want to proliferate, those areas and stuff. And just keep growing, just keep growing, but also like all while enjoying our journey, because there is a lot of people who set goals for themselves, as we were speaking of before. They set goals for themselves, but then once they get to that goal, just another goal to reach, so instead of looking at the person in front of me, what they're doing and stuff, or worrying so much, I just keep the flow going, so I can just keep thinking and growing and getting bigger and stuff and enjoying every step of the way.
I love it. I love it, man. That's awesome. Yeah, so obviously something that a lot of people don't talk about, I guess, enough, if you could put it that way, is that a lot of people don't talk about the relationship business and entrepreneurship has with personal relationships that you're in. So how helpful do you think it is having a wife and a family behind all this? How do you think it would have been different if it was just you, like a single man, versus you? Yeah, I know you have a wife and 2 kids, right? If I'm not mistaken. Yes. Yeah, how do you think that differentiates that?
Yeah, so definitely my family is the reason I do everything, so they're my main source of motivation. Once my first son was born, I got this feeling of I need to better myself to give him a better life. So I decided to change completely who I was and start becoming a better person, and because if I fail, my family fails, and I can't have that happen, so it was definitely a turning point for me, and it's my main source of motivation, and it's honestly why everything I do, and I do it, they're like, if I have a problem, I can vent to my wife, and then she'll give me feedback, and it's her feedback means everything to me, so it's definitely something that helps me move along and continue, and yeah, I'm basically family motivated, you can say.
Let's say you never met your wife and you were just a single guy. How do you think things would have turned out with let's say you did start this company? How do you think it would have turned out, and with your music career?
Yeah, the saying, behind every great man there is a great woman,
right?
And honestly, I feel like I would have just been working a regular job, I would have been stuck there, and trying to live a normal life and not push myself to those expectations, so I'm very happy that I have a family and something to live for, and every day I wake up and try to be a better person than the last day, because this life is fast, and we have to do our best, you can say.
Yeah, I would agree, this life is very fast. So sometimes I lose track of time and I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to blink and be 70 and it's going to be it. So,
right.
Yeah. No, I definitely respect it. And having family, gives you a sense of purpose, whether it's you and your wife, whether it's you're taking care of your parents, or whether it's, you and your wife and your kids, because family isn't just in one capacity. It's not always just you and your wife and your kids. It could be, you're taking care of your sister or your brother. Maybe they need help. So having that sense of purpose, and human beings, at least in my opinion, we really we need to feel needed. If you do not feel needed, you kind of feel useless, aimless, depressed, and angry, I would say. So
exactly, I completely agree, because there are a lot of stories of people who leave their families to follow this lifelong dream, which is kind of ridiculous, because in the end they do end up becoming successful and they make all these things happen.
Yeah.
But are you really happy? They're not really happy, because they left main source of happiness, which is, it doesn't really make sense to me, but it's a sad story,
like they left their wife or they left their husband, and that's fine, that's great that they got their success, but like, what is it if people around you cost? At what cost, really? Yeah It kind of reminds me of like what's the cost if you profit the world but you lose your soul? So
exactly.
Yeah.
That's why I say love your journey, because we tend to sometimes forget, and just life moves on fast, so we gotta sometimes slow down and enjoy every step of the way and look back and reflect on the things that we have accomplished. Because it's always like, how can I be better than I am now? But did you really stop and realize what all the things that you have done? So it's definitely something to keep in mind.
Yeah. And you have alluded that, not alluded, you've told me that you call yourself anxious because you deal with anxiety, and you called yourself a very anxious person. How does anxiety relate to business? Because I know that could be something that's very hard to deal with if you're a successful business person like yourself. How do you push through those barriers, and how does anxiety either hurt you or help you?
Right. So anxiety is a big part of my life, and I deal with it every day. And it's natural for me to have anxiety and stuff.
Yeah.
It just makes you know that you're alive. It's just another feeling. I might be a little anxious right now, but it's just normal. And the way I deal with it is I just learned how to deal and know and recognize what anxiety is. So that's the best way, because if you don't recognize what it is, it can completely take over you and then ruin everything. It can. I used to have stage fright, for example.
When you would perform?
All because of my anxiety, and
when you would perform?
Yeah, when I would perform as a DJ.
Yeah.
And I still perform, of course.
Yes, yes.
But really bad stage fright. But guess what? Once I get up there, a minute later, I feel completely fine. So it's like the anxiety was for nothing. So I just see it as a feeling of feeling alive, a feeling of motivation. And I always remind myself when I feel anxiety, the reason you have it is because, your past history. And I tend to link it to a positive place, even though you might feel sick, or nervous or anxious, if you link it to a positive place, you learn how to cope with it better, and it becomes just something that can be used as motivation.
Do you feel like and if you don't want to answer it, I completely understand. Do you feel like you worked past your trauma, or do you think it's something that still hinders you maybe?
Yeah, so I'm definitely human, so
Yeah.
I do think of the episodes that I have had in the past.
Yeah,
I do think of all that. I do think if it will come back. I do think scary thoughts sometimes.
Yeah.
But then when I come back to a state of reality, I tell myself, it's okay and it's going to be okay. You're going to be fine. You move past that and you're a stronger person now. But it's only normal to have these feelings and think of these things. And it's something that I feel like if you bottle away, later on in the future, it's just all going to burst out and it's going to eat you up. So you have to deal with it.
Yeah, it could like manifest in a different externality. For example, if you bottle up your anxiety or your trauma or problems you go through, you might take that out on your wife or your husband, and then slowly there becomes cracks in your marriage. And then slowly you get into that big nasty divorce, and slowly you lose half your money because of that divorce. So it could definitely manifest in a lot of different ways. Or you could get addicted to drugs and alcohol, let's say. I understand people do drugs and they use alcohol because sometimes life is hard to cope with. So that's kind of something they use to calm themselves down, but that could get out of control very quickly, as we've seen, unfortunately, because it's a huge problem in the United States, sadly. So I would definitely say if there is anyone dealing with trauma, definitely try your best to work on that issue one step at a day, because you have to treat yourself. Because a lot of times what I've noticed is that we treat other people very well, but we forget to treat ourselves well too. So treat yourself as someone that is worth being treated. And I learned that from Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life. I may be misquoting the way he said, I'm paraphrasing it, but I've learned a lot from him, and the clinical psychologist. He said, you need to treat yourself as if you're somebody important. A lot of times, maybe you treat your wife well, you treat your kids well, you treat your mom and dad well, but you forget to treat yourself well because there's such self-judgment in your own psyche, in your own brain. But you have to always remember that you need to treat yourself as if you're someone important too, because you are. Because by definition, you're a human being, and by virtue of definition, you are important, if that makes sense.
Right, yeah, that goes to that saying is, if you can't love yourself, how can you love anybody else?
Right, yeah. No, absolutely. Perfect, man. Well, I could sit here and talk to you all day, but it was just a therapizing experience, honestly. We talked about business. We talked about your marriage with your wife and how that drives you. We talked about your career, in music and how you've gotten these big, the support you've had by Hardwell, Nicky Romero, like we said, other people too. Just so many different things. And I really appreciate that you took the time to sit with me. It was great meeting your wife too. She was very nice. So where can people find you, and how can people get in contact with you? If if there's any event promoters watching this, I want to book a big show that's going on. They realize the passion, the talent, the business acumen, all the gifts that this man has right here. Where can these people find you? And if people, want to look into the Kush Disciple, where can people find you? Socials, websites? Let them know right now so people can find you.
So we're everywhere in every single music platform. Anxious, you can find me, or you can find us at Instagram at Anxious Official with a 1 in the I, replacing it. If you want to find out about future music updates, I post about every week, as well as I have my social media manager take care of the Kush Disciple page, and you can find updates there. It's at the Kush Disciple, just how it's spelled. Or you can go to our website, www.thekushdisciple.com. We also have updates, and we also offer different things to help you if you're looking for a certain product.
Absolutely. And we're going to go ahead and link his socials down in the description. We're going to link his website too down in the description of the Kush Disciple website. So if you want to get into contact with him or his products, it's going to be linked down below. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you took as much value out of this as I did. So thank you again.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.